In this video, I want to introduce you the Nazi plan to launch V-2 missiles against United States cities. In the autumn of 1943, the Germans began to develop a plan to attack American cities using the V-2 or V-2 missile. The idea came from Dr. Bodo Lafferentz, one of the Third Reich's leading engineers. Lafferentz proposed building sealed canisters big enough to contain a V-2 and towing them behind the submarine to within 100 miles of the United States coast. It was estimated one submarine could tow up to 3 of these 100-foot-long torpedo-shaped canisters. The Germans first test-fired small underwater missiles in the summer of 1942. The 30-centimeter diameter Wurfkörper 42 was mounted on the deck of a Type 9C U-boat. German Navy Commander Karl Dönitz was convinced that the rockets could be developed further into an anti-convoy weapon. The test rocket launchers had been successful both on the surface and submerged to a depth of 12 meters, and this led to Project Ursel, a missile specifically designed to be launched from an U-boat against a pursuing surface vessel. The missile would be of 165 mm caliber, and 4 of them would be mounted on the deck of a special tube launcher. It was installed on the later production Type 21 U-boats. The missiles for this project were still under development at Peenemünde when the war ended, so no use came of them. But no one seemed to have suggested an attack on a US city with these. The Kriegsmarine, so the German Navy, wanted to fit specialized launchers instead of using modified army equipment, but they did not pursue the idea with urgency. To overcome the transcontinental barrier that prevented Germany from attacking the United States at home, Bodo Lafferentz suggested that a watertight container be constructed in which a V-2 missile could be brought within the range of the American coast. The project was called Prüfstand XII or Test Stand 12 and involved towing a V-2 missile in a capsule behind an U-boat and firing it at coastal targets. The concept arose in late November 1944. The missile would be towed across the North Atlantic in a watertight container behind the U-boat and then set up vertically in the water for launch against U.S. eastern seaboard targets, particularly New York. Competing priorities of the Kriegsmarine, so the German Navy, and the Peenemünde Research Center delayed the sub-launched missile until late 1944, at which time work began on these 3 large containers for the missiles. The containers were 105 feet long, displaced roughly 400 tons, and contained a single V-2 within as well as a control room and fuel tanks. The 3 containers would be towed by a single Type 21 U-boat. Once on station, the U-boat and the containers would surface, allowing crews to board each container. Ballast tanks would be filled, raising the launchers to the vertical position. Then the crews would enter the control room and fuel the missiles, set the gyroscope guidance system, and open the electrically operated doors. When it was time to launch, the men would return to the U-boat where they would trigger by remote control. A German company at Stettin accepted the contract to build the first 3 containers in December 1944. Due to bombing, the U-boat was not converted, and of the 3 containers, only 1 was actually completed by May 1945, with 2 others at 65%. However, Allied intelligence came to know of these projects, and the US Navy developed a countermeasure known as Operation Teardrop. This operation was actually carried out in early 1945 when a group of U-boats were detected heading for the US East Coast. Most of these submarines were quickly pounced on in the Middle Atlantic, and destroyed in a massive anti-submarine operation, though post-war analysis showed no credible missile threat had existed. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.